Are you overwhelmed by your anxiety? Watch today's video to reframe your anxiety and shift the way you see your anxiety. Hey there, if you're new around here, my name is Diana Garcia. I'm a licensed therapist in Florida and owner of a private practice called Nurturing Minds Counseling. Hit that subscribe button now to get more tips and tricks to move through anxiety, relationship issues, and just overall improve your mental health. All right, let's jump into today's video. This is part of my Decoding Anxiety series. My hope is to really share a lot of information about what anxiety is, information that I share with my clients, as well as help you start changing your relationship with your anxiety so that it stops kind of dominating your life. Okay, we've gone through like what is anxiety disorders, things like that. But I want in this video for you to start to understand that maybe anxiety isn't necessarily the issue. It's the way you approach anxiety, right? We talked in the last video a lot about how avoidance is a key issue when it comes to anxiety. But for today's video, I want you to start to understand like all the different ways that you've approached your anxiety. A nifty way to think about this is this Chinese finger trap. It's like a kid's game. Maybe you've seen it at a kid's party or you played it when you were young. But pretty much you put your fingers in here and the goal is to get them out of the finger trap, right? So what we commonly do, I wish I could give you one so you could follow along, but just imagine it. You really try to like pull out, right? So that's just like the natural instinct. Like when we get our fingers stuck in here, you just want to pull out. But I don't know if you can tell, but when you try to pull out, all it does is you get your fingers further stuck. Like there's more pressure that happens. So sometimes I'll talk to clients that this is really the way you've been approaching your anxiety, right? The uncomfortable thoughts, the discomfort of like the anxious feeling, the physical sensations that when you have it, your first instinctual move is to move away, right? To try to avoid, to try to get rid of. But all that does is it amplifies the anxiety. It gets you kind of further stuck. And so just like the finger trap, what I'm encouraging you to think about is that maybe there's another way. And again, if you've never played this, really what you start to do is like you start to push in and slowly move your finger out. Because when you push in, you get a little bit more freedom and space. And so it's just one way to start to think about that you can start to approach your anxiety in a different way. And again, the problem might not necessarily be your anxiety because anxiety can be a response to a threat or a perceived threat, but it's really everything you're doing not to have it that's getting in the way, that's really shrinking your life. That's what we really have a little bit more control of. And so today I'm going to go through another exercise to help you start to think about this and ask you some questions for you to start to go through. So what actually would be really helpful for today is that you kind of have something you can write on, a piece of paper, take some notes. Maybe in the last video, I'll give you some worksheets that go with this, but for now, just have something that you can handy, do it yourself. Exercise, I am going to encourage you to think about some painful or uncomfortable experiences. Of course, you do what feels right to you. If this at any point feels too overwhelming or it feels too much, either use any grounding tool that you have, right? Your feet on the ground, or choose to just disengage, just continue this exercise. Again, just you know yourself and you know what you feels comfortable, what you can tolerate in this moment. Okay, if possible, have two different types of writing instruments. Ideally, a black marker and a red pen. If not, just like a red pen, a blue pen, pencil, pen, right? Just two different writing instruments that you can distinguish one from the other. If you have a black marker, you're going to take that black marker and on your piece of paper, you're going to draw a horizontal line. And on the left, you're going to put birth, and on the right, you're going to put present. And just for a moment, you're just going to notice this timeline. And then I want you, if you feel comfortable, to either close your eyes or just maintain a soft focus. Just take a moment to notice yourself here and now, listening to my voice. Noticing the places where you can feel your body making contact with the chair or floor, bed, wherever you are. Noticing your breathing, but no need to change your breathing in any way. And with your eyes closed or that soft focus, I just want you to think about the range of experiences that you've had from birth until now. Some moments are filled with joy, happiness, and gratitude, and other moments are filled with pain, disappointment, fear, anxiety. And for this exercise, we'll be spending some time focusing on some of those painful experiences, particularly your experiences with anxiety. Now, opening your eyes, I want you to take your red marker or pen, and I want you to think about all your different experiences with anxiety, right? From birth till now. moments that stand out. And I want you to take your red pen and put a shorter line for moments when you've had these moments of acute anxiety, or a longer red line across this horizontal line when maybe the anxiety experience was a little bit longer or felt more intense. Maybe it's the first time you remember having a panic attack, the first time you remember really worrying about something at school, as a kid, at home, the first time you just remember noticing having a really intense, uncomfortable physical experience and your mind saying danger, danger. Maybe the first time you had a difficult social experience where you started to notice a lot of self judgment and feeling unsure about yourself in that social setting. Whatever your mind associates with anxiety, I just want you to start to put different red notches or lines where you can recall having a difficult instance of anxiety. So I'll give you kind of a moment to do that. And this doesn't have to be exact. Try not to overthink it. No one is going to look at this except yourself. It's okay if you miss a lot. Again, just kind of get the ones that really stand out in your mind. And just really be aware of your thoughts or feelings or reactions to that as you start to jot these different red lines down, right? So if there was one from before, what feels really painful, notice your mind saying like, oh, I don't want to look at that, or wow, that was really hard, or I can't believe that happened. Just again, notice that like all the stories or judgments that your mind makes about these events. Now I want you to think about all the different types of strategies that you've done to get rid of, avoid, not be with this experience, fight from it, hide from it. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And I want you, next to the red lines, whatever the red lines you put down, to just start jotting down black lines if you can relate to doing one of these strategies that I'm going to talk about. And what's really important here, I want you just not to judge yourself or anything like that. I just want you to just notch these down as I ask you. Okay, so have you ever avoided a situation in order to not be with your anxiety? Or have you ever left early from a situation because your anxiety felt too overwhelming? Or used some type of substance, either alone or in social or in public, in order to reduce or get rid of this uncomfortable experience? Or have you ever been hyper vigilant, like hyper scanning your body to make sure that none of your anxiety or physical sensations are going to show up? Have you ever tried to control something or make it orderly so that your anxiety feels manageable? Have you ever tried to distract yourself by thinking about something else when some of those anxious thoughts start to show up? You ever focused on just being in safe places, right? So things that you deem that do not trigger your anxiety. Have you ever not left your home because your anxiety was too bad? Have you ever skipped out on an event because your anxiety escalated? Have you ever overexercised because you just need to get rid of this discomfort? Have you ever tried to just continue thinking about something, like worrying over and over and over to try to find a solution or how to get rid of this discomfort or what you need to do in order for this to go away? Have you ever bought something to make that discomfort go away? Have you ever sought reassurance from someone else to make sure that you were looking at it the right way because you couldn't move through that anxiety yourself? Have you ever used some type of prescription or non-prescription medication to get rid of this discomfort? Try to think positive thoughts instead. Kind of remind yourself that those negative thoughts, those negative anxious thoughts aren't important. Or have you ever tried to daydream or detach from these anxious thoughts or experiences just to turn away from them? Or overslept in order to get rid of the anxiety, or overeaten, or eaten more than you wanted to, or eaten something that you didn't want to, just to kind of get that sense of relief in the moment. The other black marks for maybe a strategy that I didn't talk about are listed here. And as you back up and look at this timeline as a whole, what do you notice? Do you have more red lines or black lines, right? What's your reaction to seeing both this discomfort that you've gone through and everything you've done to try to get rid of or not have it? And what would your life be like if you let go of having so many black lines? What would your time and energy be filled with instead of these? And notice how your timeline doesn't end today. It will continue in a week, month, years, we don't know. But what we do know is that there will be other red marks, right? There will be other moments of anxiety or other moments of pain in your life. That is guaranteed. That's part of being a human. But what we do have more control of is whether we have more black marks on that timeline. And of course, we're always going to have some because it's normal and natural to want to move away from discomfort. But we can also be very intentional. Do we want to have as many as we've had up to this point? Do we want to reduce them? Do we want to do something else with our time and energy? Consider, if you could make more room for the red lines, what would your life be like? What could be different? Hopefully now you can see that having anxiety really isn't the issue, right? We all have anxiety. And again, maybe your brand of anxiety is different from my own, or maybe someone else deals with depression, or both. Whatever the case is that we all have these moments of difficulty. And it's more so we have a little bit more control in how we choose to respond to that. And how we respond to that either maintains our anxiety and keeps our life small, or we can shift and still choose to make hard decisions and being with our anxiety. And I say that with a very clear sense that that's a very hard thing to do. Give me a thumbs up now if you want to see more of these interactive experiential exercises that you can do on your own, whether it's related to anxiety or other kind of difficulties that you're having. Hopefully this exercise was helpful for you to start to really reframe the way you look at your anxiety. And like I always say, I hope you continue nurturing your mind, body, and soul, whatever that looks like for you guys.